Welcome to webwatchworld.com. This is a quick comparison of the Casio GLX-150 and the Nixon Lodown Tide watches. Please visit webwatchworld.com for all the details, more photos, and discussion of these wristwatches and many more. I can't show you much about either of these watches because their negative displays are fairly weak, so there's not enough contrast to pick up on the video camera. That's the biggest disappointment with both of these. The displays are pretty awful in anything other than bright sunlight. The contrast is weak, and although I suppose it could be argued that the display works better in bright sunlight, a surfer wants to know what time it is or the tide and may not always be in the bright light. In reality, the displays aren't all that much different than you see here. Perhaps a bit better, but not much. Kind of a problem for a wristwatch, no? You're supposed to be able to read the time. Note also that both the Nixon and Casio websites show these displays with apparently doctored images to give it more contrast. I have learned never to trust either Casio or Nixon when it comes to their online photos, especially of the negative displays. Both of these watches take a different approach to setting the tide, and that is discussed in the webwatchworld.com review. The Nixon Lodown shows the time on the bottom and a tide graph on the top. It has 4 buttons to change the features, but the fold-out instruction guide is so poorly designed it's nearly impossible to figure out how to get anything to work on this watch, so you'll end up pressing a lot of buttons till you figure it out. It has timers and other features that you'll probably never use anyway, and you can't press buttons in the water without damaging the internals, so what's the point? The integrated bracelet has a molded nub on the end that fits into the keeper, which is a pretty nice feature to make sure the watch stays on when you're punching through an overhead barrel. It's comfortable to wear and fairly lightweight, but it's a bit thick, so it works best in summer with short-sleeve shirts. The G-Shock is also a Tide watch. It uses one of the largest G-Shock cases, but the amount of surface area for the display is tiny in comparison. It also has problems with the display. The Casio negative displays are notorious for poor visibility, and you'd think by now Casio would have this wired. An interesting feature of the GLX-150 is that you can customize the tide settings for your particular area. It's a bit more difficult than setting your local beach on the Nixon Lodown. It has local beaches in its database, and it can't be customized. The Casio can be customized for any tide anywhere in the world. The strap has a gloss finish, which is kind of strange, and the keeper is a completely different color than the band, which also bugs me. The Casio is water resistant to 20 bar, while the Nixon is rated at 100 meters. Don't press the buttons on either of them when you're in the water, though, or they'll leak. Here's a couple of wrist shots. The Nixon is smaller, but they're both fairly tall. The actual dimensions are described in the full webwatchworld.com review. You can press a button on either watch to get a background light in the dark. Bottom line is that either of these watches are kind of fun as long as you can live with the low contrast displays. I'm not sure how useful they really are, though, for anything other than stylish wear. So that's a quick look at the Casio GLX-150 and Nixon Lodown Tide watches. For all the details, more information, photos, and more, please visit webwatchworld.com. Thanks for watching.